Brian, can you give us a quick 60-second overview of what REIG does, Renew Energy Integration Group, and your role there?
Yeah. Renewable Energy Integration Group, we are a communications company that integrates communications on utility scale solar or renewable energy projects, connecting all the different components that speak on the site and collect data to make sure that there's a centralized and visible platform that can digest and use this information for decision making.
And what specifically is your role, and how long has REIG been in business?
Yeah, so I am the chief executive officer. My background is really coming up through the company as a project manager and eventually becoming the owner. The company has been in business for 10 years. The original founder and owner retired in 2025. And then I inherited a fantastic staff that of experts that work with me each and every day to meet that mission of integrating renewable energy systems in the marketplace.
Let's go back to when we started working together. What was the specific pain points or challenges you were dealing with at that time?
Really, I think a lot of the pain points nowadays are that social media platform and that integration and generating that new customer line. So those were really the high level areas that we were not doing very well as an organization. Not because we weren't trying, we just didn't have the expertise in those areas. And then, we reached out and obviously your expertise in generating AI platforms and supporting systems that would help us with that communication integration with our customers, not only our existing platform, but also those customers that didn't know about us, the customers that we wanted to reach to generate that new business and expand our operations.
What was the main reason you hadn't changed you were doing sooner?
So the previous owners actually built this business on a word of mouth, which is absolutely fantastic. And he built a very strong business that was filled with repeat customers. And we still to this day have a lot of those repeat customers. And that really generated us that base business line that we continue to see, but it didn't generate that new business line. It didn't expand us into the marketplace to let people know exactly what we do, because oftentimes it's confusing. And integrate systems and those types of things are not as straightforward until people actually start and bring up a renewable project and say, well, how do we get this company or this scope of work to communicate with this scope of work? And that's where we really thrive in the marketplace. So that to an extent is what was missing, is that integration to that new customer base is what we're looking to do.
Brian, how did you first hear about us?
So actually, you and I met when you were looking and soliciting for individuals to come on your podcast. So we were introduced that way. That was new for me as well as a new business owner. I was looking at ways to try to generate that new business and thought, well, maybe a podcast would be something good. So yeah, that's how you and I were introduced. And when you heard my story and my desire of business growth, you had a solution that you presented to myself and ultimately my leadership team that eventually evolved into the current relationship that we have today.
What concerns or reservations did you have initially about working with us?
I think the concerns, like anything else, is just making sure that the communication and the goals that each organization is setting is fair and produces an ROI. So at the end of the day, you want to make an investment into something that's going to generate a return on that investment. I think that was the biggest concern. So there were obviously some back and forth on making sure that what you were delivering and what we needed was what we were aiming for. So there was several contract revisions and variations to get that in place. And that's one of the more attractive things. It's not a straightforward, here's what we offer, take it or leave it. It was more, hey, what do you need? And let's see if we can work to your goals while playing to our strengths of what we offer in the marketplace.
What ultimately made you decide to go ahead with us?
I think it was it was that willingness to not be so fixed on here's the offerings. I know a lot of the marketing that I looked at, which is some of the component of what you bring to the table, was very much, we're going to handle all these things, but here's our price. And I said, well, what if you're not doing this? Well, that's still our price. So I think the flexibility to look at what the offerings were and cater that offering to what we actually needed and also adjust the price point to what that was as well. So that was ultimately one of the best, one of the ultimate deciding criteria in why we moved forward.
Can you describe what it's actually been like working with us? The process, the communication, the delivery?
Yeah. So, the utilization of platforms on the communication have been good. Whenever we have an issue or something that jumps out or something that doesn't exactly look like what we want it to look like, you guys are Johnny on the spot. You address it, you make corrections, you get it fixed. So we all know that there's going to be things that don't always go as well as planned, but I think how you react in business it says more about that organization than anything else. So standing behind what you do and getting things fixed and not making excuses, but making corrections. I think that's been one of the more pleasant parts of our relationship so far.
What stood out most to you? Whether it's how we work, something specific we did, or how it feels day to day?
Yeah, so I know we had some integration with our CRM system, so which created some challenges from a price standpoint, first off. So your team was very, very much willing to cater some things within a price point and look at workarounds for us that obviously benefit a small business operation like myself to, from a budgetary standpoint. Through that process, as you know, when it's not out of the box, there are some bugs and things that need to be corrected and fixed. And, we've had some of those bugs pop up, and your team has been great in getting those things.
How important is it for a company like REIG to have a strong, consistent digital presence when your buyers are evaluating you?
I believe it's really important. So it's one of the things that takes a lot of time. It's, having that social media presence like LinkedIn. I wasn't a firm believer in Facebook until we started kind of integrating with Meta and I saw some of the lead generation that came out of that platform. So I've actually changed my stance on that a little bit. But I think I've had comments from some friends that are outside of my industry, but are part of my LinkedIn network and how impressed they were with the social media, the posting and the continuous. And I know, and I know I've shared this with you. It takes a lot of work to get that integration and stay on top of that and make sure things are being communicated correctly and that integration there. So it's not something that interests me. So I'm glad that it interests your company and, uh, and it's something that you guys continue to do. So that's one of the biggest challenges that I had running a small company is hard to keep up with that social media presence that you actually need in today's marketplace to stay relevant. If you're not communicating in that marketplace, you're limiting the exposure to a customer base for your organization.
How has the way REIG shows up online changed since we started working together?
I believe more so it's just getting that digital presence in that professional manner has been the biggest change. I've had some employees that have some social media prowess, I guess you would say is maybe the best word, and could create some good postings and some good content from time to time. But when it's not your everyday job and you have an everyday job, it's hard to continue that momentum. And I think that that's probably the biggest change that we've seen is that continuous momentum every day on that social media platform that's producing relevant information to what we offer as an organization in the marketplace and kind of building that interest from a new customer base that says, oh, I didn't know I needed that but now I can see that. So I think that those seeds planted, maybe not directly but indirectly, have grown our sales process.
What kind of results have you seen since we started, whether that's leads, revenue, time saved, or how things feel operationally?
So operationally, we have grown tremendously from last year. So last year was a challenging year for us for a lot of different reasons. But this year, we, from a lead generation perspective, from a revenue generation perspective, from a closure rate perspective, we're improved a hundredfold. So we're seeing, actually, I shared this with you last month. We typically target a certain number of leads, and we tripled that in 1 month in our target. So that increase seems a little overwhelming when you're in it, but it's a welcome process for us from the standpoint of having the opposite, which is not having anything coming in.
How fast did you start to see some of those results come in after we started working together?
So we really started to see that those results right away. Probably the slowest month was the first month in January, but we've seen a steady rise in our bar graph since January. February being a short day month was nice to see that increase in February. And that has continued up until the end of May, where May realized just a significant jump in that sales pipeline, opportunity pipeline.
What's been the biggest win or clearest moment when you thought, okay, great, this is working?
I think, the feedback from customers on the social media presence, that was a huge win. The opportunities that are generated through communicating more often and more specifically to our existing customer base has really kept us top of mind. So we've seen those increases, and hopefully you hope that your customers will come back to you, but there's other avenues. So we think that, just keeping us top of mind and getting that communication out to them more regularly, and better follow-up systems in place with our bids and our customers has been a huge win for us.
What other types of businesses or situations do you think would benefit from working with us?
I think any company that is looking to increase their business development, to increase their online presence, and not only online presence, but focused online presence, it would be what I would say is a huge component of what we've gotten from your team. And looking at opportunities through AI systems that can help with a small team to act like a large team. Those are probably the three biggest areas that we've seen huge value to our organization.
What would you say to someone who's on the fence about working with us?
I would say give them the opportunity and they won't disappoint you. Hey, give us a shot. Let us show you what we can do for you, and we'll see if it fits. And if it doesn't fit, we can part as friends. Or if it does fit, which it did, then we'll continue the relationship and continue to help, be a part of that business growth for your organization.
Before we wrap up, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share about our partnership?
I would just say that it is a true partnership. So, the biweekly meetings and things that are communicated, and the effort that your team puts in when there is an issue, it's not something that we're even waiting 24 hours or even 12 hours for a response. We're getting immediate responses. We're getting, that attack to our concerns on what we see and needs to happen, or what we are reviewing. And then we're getting those gentle nudges in the everyday fast paces of business to say, hey, we put this together for you, but we need you to approve it or review it. So I know you can speak to that. It's often challenging, so we try to show that same appreciation, and don't always meet that. But yeah, we do appreciate it from your end that you guys are so attentive to our goals and our challenges.
I really appreciate that, Brian. Last one. If someone's watching and they want to learn a little bit more about you and REIG, where is the best place to find them?
Yeah, so they could reach us at our website, www.reig-us.com, or on our LinkedIn social media. So under Brian Otto, a Renewable Energy Integration Group, you can see our online presence, and reach out to me directly on that platform.
Fantastic. Brian, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. It's been fantastic, and I look forward to our continued work together.
Sounds good. Thank you, Krill.